Hey folks, how are you doing today? Today I wanted to do a demo with you on a painting technique for doing skies. I know I've done one of these before, but I did this one with a different YouTube channel. So why don't you come along with me and see how we can do with this painting.
All right, so the first part of this study is to wet both sides of the page. So that's what I'm doing here. It's just taking a sponge, wetting down both sides. I'm going to start with the lightest color, of course. This is watercolor painting. So mixing up some gray with a cobalt blue or an ultramarine blue and a sienna, and then start applying it to start the shaping of the clouds. So I've taken the time to make a new mix just a little bit darker. And you notice I'm not working in large brush strokes until I get to the bottom here of the paper. But I'm working the clouds, I'm just almost little dot and dashes, moving really quickly. So now I'm taking a little blue just to add some of the sky color into the shadows, making them darker, starting to define those clouds. Now, remember, we're still wet on wet in this technique. So you need to make sure your page is maintaining that moisture content. Not too much, not too little. You'll see a few times when I'm doing this that I'm actually going to spray the paper. There we go. So now more of the blue to bring and define the edges or the top of the clouds. And typically when doing skies, a sky is going to be bluer towards the top of the page and white or lighter towards the bottom. This is really now turning into a process of getting a little darker, bringing in some more detail, letting everything bleed, right? Don't get too worried about it. You saw that I brought a little water back into there so that this didn't get too defined, if you will. And if you notice, the gray or the darker areas is what actually is defining the clouds. Without that, it's just a big white blob, frankly, on the paper. The other thing you can see is how by mixing the gray myself, it's separating on the page, which is really kind of cool. In that moment right now, I'm feeling like it's a little too dark, so I'm just lifting some of the pigment. And then I remind myself, oh yeah, it's watercolor. It's going to dry lighter than it is right now. So I'd go back and add some more dark. Now I can define the sky better with some more pigmented blue, so I really can outline that cloud. While I'm doing this, I should mention, you don't have to use the photo I used, which is in the video, but use a photo or use some reference. Don't paint it exactly, but let it sort of guide you. So here I'm putting shadows, like the darkest part of the cloud at the bottom. If you've noticed, hopefully you have, clouds flatten out near the bottom. And of course, some swishes of rain coming out of the cloud. Now that the cloud's dry, and I could leave it as is, but I dried everything off. I wanted to put in some of the landscape that was underneath the cloud. Of course, painting light to dark. So giving the fields color, drying that off, and then coming back in with a darker color that's got some green to it. And then just start playing and defining an edge of the ground that's happening below. Now I'm not using any reference at this point, and I'm just looking at what I want to do. So I'm just playing, adding in some of the darker areas where the trees or ridges are in front of the other mountains. Add some edges in, help to define it a little bit. Using the side of the brush there to give a little definition. If you notice over on that right-hand side, I'll let that dry for a little bit and then come back in and add another layer, which adds some depth to that painting. All right, so I got to a place where I felt that the ground was competing, I should say, with the cloud. So I wanted to just tone it all down. Give it some texture, a few finishing touches. This is the tricky part, convincing myself I'm done, which I did. So great. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you liked, please give me a thumbs up. That always helps the channel. Subscribe when you want to know the next things coming up. And thanks for all your support for the channel.